We have a question about kind of the nuts and bolts of your fact brief program. Can you talk about a little bit about how you've adapted to this new editorial product, who your staff additions are,
Sure.
any new strategies that have resulted?
Absolutely. So right now, fact briefs are a daily part of our workflow, and we have fully incorporated searching for mis and disinformation and claims online, and finding ways that some of our existing editorial work on our investigations really have been fed by some of these claims that exist online. So instead of just scouring online and looking for claims, which we do, and we push back, we have our ear to the ground in a way that not a lot of other folks do. We pay attention to the conversations that are happening at the daily level, but it's not just on Twitter, and it's not just on over the airwaves or in a committee hearing or a convening. It's also in Reddit and Telegram and Rumble and other threads that not everybody follows on a daily basis. So we have adapted our workflow in that we have our ear to the ground in a far more timely way than we typically will. Our normal structure is we pick an investigation, we dive in, we spend weeks, months, sometimes years, and we focus not with blinders on, but very narrowly in on exposing that topic or inequity or whatever it may be. We still do that work today, but we now have the flexibility of a little more of a nimble framework that if we see a claim that we know have previously investigated before or hope to investigate in the future, we can quickly react to it. So we do have a reporter who works with us who does these fact briefs and research and writes them, and then we edit them, and we work with your team, of course, to get them published, and then we push them out online. And then when we land a large investigation, so one investigation that we'll be, I hope, publishing this week is looking at the rising rates of maternal mortality in the state of Arizona and how that disproportionately impacts rural communities and communities of color and lower socioeconomic groups. There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation that exists within that landscape, and that's built off of previous reporting we did on crisis pregnancy centers. So you start to see overlap and connection between mis and disinformation in ways that maybe you didn't before, or you weren't explicitly paying attention for those really narrowly defined claims. So it's part of how we operate today, and it allows our newsroom, as I think I mentioned before, to respond to these claims in a far more timely and responsive manner. Because sometimes people don't hear from us for a month or two, and that's a hard way to build a direct and dedicated following if you're not in people's inboxes or coming across their screens or phones in a consistent way.
Yeah, I really love the complementary nature of these kind of like deep investigative reporting pieces that you do, as well as the quick hits, because it still allows you to kind of get people familiarized with your brand and amplify the knowledge that you've worked so hard to gain.